Hello everyone. Today I Adya Wadhwa from MYB1A would be portraying myself as Dr. Anandi Gopal Joshi and Dr. Kadambini Ganguly. So let's start. Hi all, I'm Dr. Anandini Gopal Joshi, also known as Dr. Anandi Bai Joshi. My original name is Yamuna. I was born on 31st March 1865 in Kalyan, India. I'm the daughter of Ganpat Rao Joshi. I died on 26th February 1887 in Kalyan, India. I was 21 years old when I died. I was married to Gopal Rao Joshi at the age of 9. He was 20 years older to me. After my marriage, my husband renamed me as Anandini Gopal Joshi. My husband encouraged me to study medicine. In 1880, he sent a letter to Royal Wilder stating that I have interest in studying medicine in the United States. He also asked for his stay there. We received a letter back from the campaign soon. They were amazed to see a woman's interest in medical and her husband's support. While we were in Kolkata, my health was declining. I suffered from weakness, constant headaches, and occasional fever, and sometimes breathlessness too. I received many medicines from America, but there was no result. A physician couple named Thorben suggested that I should apply to the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania. I began with my medical training at the age of 19. In America, my health worsened because of the cold weather and unfamiliar diet I had. I contracted tuberculosis. Nevertheless, I graduated with an MD in March 1886. On my graduation, Queen Victoria sent me a congratulatory message. After returning to India, I died due to tuberculosis. Later, in 1888, an American feminist and writer Caroline Welch wrote my biography. Srikrishna Joshi wrote a fictionalized account of my life in his Marathi novel Anandi Gopal, which was adapted a play of the same name by Ram Jolekar. Dr. Anjali Krithan also wrote a book on me, and the Institution of Research and Documentation in Social Science from Lucknow awarded me for medicine in honor of my early studies. On 31st March 2018, Google honored me with a Google Doodle to mark my 153rd birth anniversary. Thank you. Now moving on to Kadambini Ganguly. Hello, I'm Dr. Kadambini Ganguly. I am the daughter of Braja Kishore Basu. I was born on 18th July 1861 at Bhagalpur, that was in British India. I died on 3rd October 1923 when I was 62 years old in Calcutta, British India. My father was the headmaster of Bhagalpur school. He and Abhay Charan, who was one of his friends, established the women's organization Bhagalpur Mahila Samiti in 1863. That was the first in India. I started my education at Bhangna Mahila Vidyala. I joined the medical college in 1883. Later in 1883 itself, I was married to Dwarakand Ganguly. I was the mother of 8 children, so most of my time was devoted to my kids. In 1886, I was awarded GBMC and became the first women physician with a Western medical degree in the whole of South Asia. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, Sanvi Chadha and I, Sanskriti Agarwal, will be presenting a video on how female scientists have impacted the society. We will be talking about 2 scientists and Sanvi will be starting off with the first one.
Hi, I'm Sanvi and today I'll be starting off this presentation with one of my friends, Sanskriti, to talk about female scientists, and I'll be starting off the presentation by talking about Elizabeth Blackwell. As I think of Elizabeth Blackwell, I think of a very courageous, pioneering, and a strong, intelligent, strong female influence, and also the first woman to graduate from medical school in the United States. She matured into an advanced public health activist during her existence, and in this moment in history, women weren't empowered as roles such as doctors, and many women didn't even get to go to college at all. But Elizabeth was unique. She had parents who understood that whether it be a boy or a girl, they were all equal in their eyes, and Samuel and Hannah assisted Elizabeth to always complete as much of her studies as she could. At age 16, Elizabeth went to serve as a teacher, among her a mother who was also a principal of a small elementary school for African American children. Soon, Elizabeth decided to go to medical school after a urging of a friend who was dying. She graduated on January 23rd of 1849, and after studying hard, she was still unsupported by the society around her, by taunts and the bitterness of other students, and also the people in town. Soon after hearing this, she had enough and took off to Paris to study and explore more in the field of science, which she actually cost the side of her left eye by an eye infection, but it never slowed her down. She never thought of giving up once. 2 years later, she started a school to encourage and support other women to pursue jobs as doctors, and a store that could help women and children both buy medicine. Both of these ideas were revolutionary and innovative on the idea of a diverse female doctor. Elizabeth and her only surviving sibling, Emily, gathered money to open a hospital, especially for women and children, and this marked the starting of the New York Infirmary for Women and Children in 1857. Of course, it was also run by female doctors. The Blackwells were also involved in the anti-slavery movement in America, helping to publicize the fight to slavery. They counted among their many more brave friends, and Elizabeth also trained nurses in the Union forces during the Civil War. She ended up opening a women's medical college, and soon after, she actually marked the day that she died. But we'll be discussing more on her legacy in the next slide. Now we'll be discussing her commemoration and legacy. After her death on May 3rd of 1910, having made a name for herself as the first female doctor in America, but she also made her name as a guardian and feminist for women's rights in Europe and everywhere else. She'll forever be remembered as the namesake of Blackwell Medal that you'll hear more about when Sanskriti talks about it, but as well as it was established in 1949 and given to women with exceptional achievements in the field of medicine. She lives as an inspiration and role model in my heart and will inspire and uplift a new generation of evolution and women for support and equality in any honor, whether it be racism or gender inequality. She stood up for such brave issues, and we should be able to respect her work and her legacy, and it should always be remembered. To end the presentation about Elizabeth Blackwell, I'll be ending off with a quote by her that I think she embodies quite perfectly. It is, "If society will not admit of women's free development, then society must be remodeled." I really think she embodies this because she's always stood up for unity, whether it be in any different aspect. Thus, now, with that, I hand over to Sanskriti to introduce the next amazing female scientists.
Thank you very much, Sami. And now I will be talking about Macy Jemison, or May Carol Jemison, a 64-year-old retired woman, of course, who was a scientist and a lot more. So, what impact did Macy Jemison have on the world? Well, she was a Peace Corps as well. Now, I don't know much about this, but I can infer it is likely an occupation where she tried to bring rights for certain people. She also showed the world the capability of black people by being the first African American woman to go into space. Her journey isn't really described much, but she stood up to her kindergarten teacher and started it. May told her teacher she wanted to be a scientist, and she meant a scientist. This is the case as when Macy Jemison was young, a nurse was all you could expect from a young girl aspiring to be a scientist. Thus, her teacher sort of criticized her for saying a scientist. You may also wonder why she wanted to be a scientist, and that was because she wanted to explore the world around her. She was fascinated by it and was told many, more so known as complicated things about science at a young age by her uncle, thus leading her wanting to know more. Being a scientist, what did she achieve? She was the first ever African American woman to go into space. It happened in 1992 aboard the Endeavour. She was also awarded the Elizabeth Blackwell Medal, which is named after Elizabeth Blackwell, the first scientist in medicine. Now, before I end my part, I would like to end with a quote by Macy Jemison. "You have as much right as anyone else to be in this world and to be in any profession you want. You don't have to wait for permission." She also has a lot more, but this has got to be my favorite.
Thank you so much for listening to us today. We really enjoyed working on the task and working as a pair as well. We hope we were able to spread more knowledge upon these female scientists and influences.
Contribution of female scientists in society. Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace was an English mathematician who considered herself to be a poetical scientist. She met Charles Babbage, known as the father of computers, when she was just 17. The two bonded over a mutual interest in mathematics, and Lovelace was immediately intrigued by Babbage's analytical engine. Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace, was an English mathematician and writer, chiefly known for her work on Charles Babbage's proposed mechanical engine general purpose computer and the analytical engine. She was born on 10th December 1815 and died on 27th November 1852. Profession: mathematician and software developer. Lovelace was the first to recognize the full potential of a computing machine, suggesting it had applications beyond pure calculation. The story of programming is one of evolution. It started in the 1800s with an ambitious young woman named Ada Lovelace. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Rosalind Elsie Franklin. I was an English chemist and X-ray crystallographer. My work was central to the understanding of the molecular structures of DNA, RNA, viruses, coal, and graphite. I discovered the density of DNA and, more importantly, established that the molecule existed in a helical conformation. My work was to make clearer X-ray patterns of DNA molecules, laid the foundation for James Watson and Francis Crick's suggestion that DNA is a double helix polymer in 1953. I was denied because I was a female scientist. I was educated at Norland Place. In 1956, I visited the University of California, Berkeley, where colleges had suggested group research the poliovirus. In 1957, I applied for a grant from the United States Public Health Service of the National Institutes of Health, which approved 10,000 million for 3 years, the largest fund ever received at Birkbeck. In my grant application, I mentioned my new interest in animal virus research. I obtained Bernal's consent in July 1957, though serious concerns were raised after I disclosed my intentions to research live instead of killed poliovirus at Birkbeck. Eventually, Bernal arranged for the virus to be safely stored at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine during the group's research. With my group, I then commenced deciphering the structure of the poliovirus while it was in a crystalline state. I attempted to mount the virus crystals in capillary tubes for X-ray studies, but was forced to end my work due to my rapidly failing health. After my death, Clark succeeded her as group leader, and he, Finch, and Holmes continued researching the structure of the poliovirus. They eventually succeeded in obtaining extremely detailed X-ray images of the virus. In June 1959, Clark and Finch published the group's findings, revealing the poliovirus to have icosahedral symmetry, and in the same paper suggested the possibility for all spherical viruses to possess the same symmetry, as it permitted the greatest possible number, 60, of identical structural units. The team moved to the Laboratory of Molecular Biology, Cambridge, in 1962, and Old Torrington Square Laboratory. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.